Hello everyone. In the last class we have completed elliptically polarized, plane polarized and circularly polarized, how to produce and how to detect. The last concept of your first chapter, that is polarization, in the third unit is optical activity. See, what do you mean by optical activity? The property of a certain substance by virtue of which it rotates the plane of polarization of light incident on it about the direction of propagation of light through certain angle, and the materials which exhibit this property is called optically active material. See, for example, if this is the optically active material, if I pass a plane polarized light this, then what happens, this plane polarized light rotate through an angle, and finally while emerging it makes a certain angle between the incident and the emergent. See, for example, if this is the direction of the electric vibration, that is plane polarized light, when passed through optically active material it turns like this. That means it makes a certain angle. So this type of rotation given by certain materials only. For example, calcite crystal will not a optically active material, but quartz crystal is a optically active material. Even your sugar solution is an optically active material. Cane sugar is an optically active material. So there are some materials which rotate the plane of vibration of electric vector by some angle. Okay, so that materials are known as optically active material. I already told you calcite crystal is an optically inactive material, remember this, but quartz is that one. See, here in the optically inactive materials there are two types. You already know this, levorotatory and dextrorotatory. See, for example, if this is the electric vibration, if it rotates this after emerging from the crystal, if the plane of vibration is rotated like this clockwise according to the observer who is seeing the emergent light from the crystal, if the electric vibrations are rotated like this, then what happens, clockwise, then such is known as, according to observer, it is rotated right hand side. Therefore this is known as right handed rotation or dextrorotatory. If it is rotated like this according to observer who is seeing the emergent light from the optically active crystal, then according to him it is rotated left handed, and such a rotation is known as levorotatory. So anyway, with respect to the observer who is seeing the emergent light, if the vibration is rotated left side, then it is known as levorotatory, or it is also anti-clockwise. If the vibrations are rotated clockwise or right side to the observer, then that is known as dextrorotatory or right-handed rotatory. Okay. And you know this Biot's law about the optical rotation. If theta is the angle of rotation by which the optically active material rotates the plane of vibration, then it is experimentally proven that theta is directly proportional to the thickness if the material is solid. Thickness is here represented by T. But the theta is directly proportional to the length of the solution which is filled, length of the tube where the optically active solution is filled, if it is in the form of a liquid, that is solution. Theta is proportional to density for a solid material. Theta is proportional to concentration for a liquid material, that is for a solution. This is true for both, whether it is solid or liquid. Theta is directly proportional to temperature and theta is directly proportional to wavelength. So if I fix a temperature, say if I am doing the experiment in a room, I have fixed the temperature of the room to 25 degrees Celsius or something like that. So if the temperature is fixed and if I am using a one single light, monochromatic light, then wavelength is fixed. So for a given temperature and given wavelength, then theta is proportional to only two quantities, that is thickness and the density for a solid material, length of the solution and concentration of the solution for a liquid. So if I remove the proportionality symbol, then I can introduce a proportionality constant S. Then according to this formula, x is equal to theta divided by d rho. This formula according to S is equal to theta by LC. So where S in both the cases is known as specific rotation, or it is also known as specific rotatory power. Okay, see, observe, in both the cases the units are same. Theta is measured by radian, and here d means thickness, which is measured by meter In the denominator it is meter, and rho means kg per meter cube. Kg per meter cube. 1 meter get cancels. So you will get meter minus meter 2. So if I do this, then totally you will get radian meter square per kg, not m power minus 2, you will get meter square per kg, I think. So in the denominator, thickness, rho means density, kg per meter cube, so you will get radian meter square per kg. And here also observe, concentration is again represented with kg per meter cube, you already know this. So again you will get radian meter square per kg. Okay, so in both the cases you will get the same unit. Check once again this, whether you are getting the same or not. Okay, anyway, this is I am using only to explain the what do you mean by specific rotation. So this is most important, Fresnel's explanation of optical activity. So Fresnel has given a wonderful explanation why some substances show optical activity, why some other cannot show optical activity. So very first point, he assumed that when plane polarized light is allowed to pass through a crystal along optic axis, it splits into two circularly polarized vibration rotating in opposite direction with same frequency and half the amplitude of incident light. So when the observe each and every word is important. When a plane polarized light, okay, which is passed through a crystal, okay, along optic axis. So if the optic axis is like this, I am passing the same vibe. If the optic axis is like this, then you have to pass the vibrations like this. If the optic axis is like this, then you have to pass the vibrations like this. So along optic axis, then it splits into two circularly polarized light. So this is optical axis, so it splits into two circularly polarized light rotating in opposite direction. See, one is rotating clockwise and another one start rotating in anti-clockwise direction, okay, with the same frequency and half the amplitude of incident light. If the amplitude of incident light is A, then both will get the amplitudes A by 2, okay, half the amplitude it will get. Okay, next, he also second point he gave in his explanation is, but these circularly polarized light travel with same velocity in an optically inactive crystal. Sorry, this is optically inactive crystal. These circularly polarized light travel with same velocity in an optically inactive crystal. Hence, there is no phase difference. See, these two travel with the like this. These two travel at any instant of time, they travel with the same velocity. See, amplitude is same and they are traveling with the same velocity means what is the net after combining, they will get back the original. If this is one vector, if this is another vector, and these two vectors magnitude is same, then what happens? If you complete the parallelogram, then you will get the vectors resultant will be always along the optic axis again. That means the optically inactive material will not rotate the incident electric vibrations through any angle. So this happens in the case of optically inactive crystal. Are you getting my point? So for the optically active crystal, what happens? Same circularly, there you will get the two oppositely circularly polarized light, but they start traveling with different velocities. That is the difference. That means one is having the higher velocity than the other. So there is a phase difference between them. So observe very carefully. As soon as the light enters along the optic axis, what happens? For example, if this one goes very faster, this is OL is here only along the optic axis only, already the OR is passed this much of distance, correct, linear distance. So it has came across OR. Okay, now what is the resultant? Now the resultant will be after completing the parallelogram. Now the resultant will be along OA dash. That means the electric vibration has rotated through an angle theta. See, if you consider this as the angle of rotation by which plane of polarization is rotated, then it must be equal to phi by 2, where phi is the phase difference between the two circularly polarized light. So this is pictorially I can easily tell. Pictorially, theta must be equal to phi by 2. Now I have to prove that mathematically that theta must be equal to phi by 2. Are you getting my point? What the Fresnel explained once again? He assumed that when the plane polarized light is passed through the optic axis, it divides into two circularly polarized light in the opposite directions having same frequency, but the amplitude is half of the incident one. If the incident is A, it will get divided into A by 2 and A by 2. Okay, and both will travel with the same velocity in the case of optically inactive crystal. Since both will travel with the same velocity, that means two vectors magnitude is same, then if you complete the parallelogram, you will get back the resultant along again optic axis only. That means incident vibration is also in the same direction, emergent is also in the same direction. That means there is no rotation given by the crystal. That means it is an optically inactive crystal. But what happens in the case of optically inactive crystal? One will move faster. As soon as it enters, OL is along optic axis only, but OR is already started traveling in this direction because its speed is more. Okay, then what happens? By completing the parallelogram, now the resultant will be not along OA, it is along OA dash. That means incident vibrations has rotated through an angle theta. So this is known as angle by which plane of polarization is rotated. See, by this symmetric figure, I can say that the angle between these two phase difference is phi. Since OR is equal to OL, then theta must be equal to phi by 2. This is pictorially, geometrically I can tell, because I know the vector analysis. In the vector analysis, if the first vector magnitude is equal to second vector magnitude, then the resultant will be exactly at the mid position of OR and OA. You know this, correct? Therefore, theta must be equal to phi by 2. This is pictorially I can prove. Now I have to prove the same thing by giving a mathematical treatment. So I will consider the incident plane polarized with y is equal to a sin omega t. Okay. So what happens if I am considering a optically active crystal? On entering this type of optically active crystal like quartz, they broke up into two opposite circular vibration according to Fresnel. You know that now only, and with a phase difference of phi. Since they are represented hence they are represented by, see, x1 is equal to a by 2 into sine of omega t plus phi, y1 is equal to a by 2 into cos of omega t plus phi for clockwise rotation. See, for example, if this is the OR is the clockwise rotation or right handed one, right circularly polarized, then what happens? OL is along this, it is already moved with an angle phi. That means it is ahead with the angle phi. That means there is a phase difference of phi, plus phi is there. Therefore, I have to consider its x component is positive. OR's x component is positive and y component is also positive. Therefore, a by 2 sine of omega t plus phi and y1 is a by 2 cos of omega t plus phi. But what happens to the OL? For OL, x component is negative but y component is positive, correct? So minus a by 2 into sine of omega t and y2 is a by 2 into cos of omega t. Okay, so this is for a anti-clockwise or left circularly polarized. So now if you want the resultant, that is emergent right, will be resultant of these two. So adding the corresponding components x and y, so resultant x component must be equal to x1 plus x2. So if I do that, a by 2 into sine of omega t plus phi minus a by 2 into sine of omega t. If you take a by 2 common, you will get like this. This is in the form of sin c minus sin d. Use the formula 2 sine of c minus d by 2 into cos of c plus d by 2. Simple mathematical, you will get this. Okay. Then what happens? Y components, you add the y component, again take the LCM like this. Now it is in the form of cos c plus cos d. Use the formula, you will get this. Okay, now what happens if you do the x by y, see x component by y component, then what happens? Cos of omega t plus pi by 2, and here also cos of omega t plus pi by 2, and a get cancels, only left with sin phi by 2, and here I will be left with cos pi by 2. So sin phi by 2 by cos pi by 2 is tan phi by 2, correct? So thus the angle by which plane of polarization rotated will be theta is equal to phi by 2. You know that if the two vectors are like this, and if the resultant is like this, then the angle between the first vector and the resultant is found by theta is equal to tan inverse of y by x or x by y you can do. Okay, if you consider theta here, then you can do y by x. If you consider theta here, then you can do y by x. Okay, sorry, if theta is towards x axis, then you can do y by x. If theta is here, then you can do x by y. Anyway, both the formulas are applicable. Or else you can write tan of x by y is equal to theta, correct? According to vector analysis, theta is equal to tan inverse of x by y, or tan of x by y can be written as theta. See, tan of x by y, sorry, 1 minute. Or tan theta, sorry, small confusion. Theta is equal to tan inverse of x by y, or tan theta is equal to x by y, correct? So in the place of x by y, if I substitute tan theta, then theta will be equal to phi by 2, and that is nothing but the angle by which plane of polarization is rotated. So I have proved mathematically this. Okay, that is I expected this by seeing the figure. This I have proved now mathematically. Okay, where phi is the phase difference between left circularly polarized and right circularly polarized. So if you consider mu L as the refractive index of left circularly polarized, and mu R as the refractive index of right circularly polarized, and T as the thickness of the crystal, that is the material of the optically active material, then what happens, you know, you have proved this already. The path difference must be equal to mu L minus mu R into T. You go back to your previous derivation, you come to know this. This is I have already proved in the case of retardation plates, correct? Mu L minus mu R into T. Now you know that phase difference by path difference relation is 2 pi by lambda. Phase difference is represented by pi. Path difference, now only we have the idea, mu L minus mu R into T to 2 pi by lambda. Therefore phi can be written as 2 pi by lambda into mu L minus mu R into T. So therefore if you know that theta is equal to phi by 2, therefore theta will be this expression by 2. Then you will get pi by lambda into mu L can be written as C by VL, mu R can be written as C by VR into thickness T. Okay, now I will take C common. See, C by lambda can be replaced with 1 over T, because C is equal to nu lambda, famous wave equation, V is equal to F lambda, correct? Or C is equal to 1 over T lambda, or C by lambda is equal to 1 over T. So instead of C by lambda, I am writing 1 over T. So I will get theta is equal to pi by T into 1 by VL minus 1 by VR into T. See, Fresnel's has given the theory that, what he has given the theory, when two vectors are moving with the same velocity, then theta will be 0. That means there is no rotation. So that is proved mathematically now. The Fresnel's explanation can be mathematically proved now. See, in this expression, if VL is equal to VR, then what happens? Theta must be equal to 0. This is the case of optically inactive crystal. If VL is greater than VR, then what happens? Theta is negative. You know that according to sign convention, negative theta means that rotation is anti-clockwise. So if the rotation is anti-clockwise, that is according to observer, it is in the left hand side. Therefore such a substance is known as levorotatory. So this is for the optically active material, particularly for the levorotatory material. This case is when VL is less than VR, then theta is positive, the rotation is clockwise or right handed according to the observer. So the substance is dextrorotatory. All of you getting this? So this is mathematical proof, that is theoretical explanation. So this is about the Fresnel's explanation of optical activity. Now the last concept in your polarimeter chapter is Lorentz half-shade polarimeter. So first of all, what do you mean by polarimeter? It is a device used to find the angle by which plane of polarization is rotated. That is, you have to find the theta. So when passed through optically active materials. So if you know the theta, you can easily find S by knowing the other quantities like concentration and length, something like that. So there are so many types of polarimeter are there, like biquartz polarimeter, half shade polarimeter, etc. So according to your syllabus, I have to concentrate on only this type of polarimeter, that is half shade polarimeter. Why it is known as Lorentz half shade polarimeter? Because it is invented by Laurent. So this experiment is already done in the lab, so we will get a clear idea here. What is the picture diagram for this? You have a source, you have a convex lens, so you will get a parallel light rays. When these parallel light rays are passed through the Nicol prism, you know that Nicol prism is also a doubly refracting crystal, where you will get the only the extraordinary rays. Ordinary rays, what happens? They get deviated by a perpendicular in a perpendicular direction like this. So we will get the extraordinary rays, so whose vibrations are in the plane of the paper. You know that always E ray will contain the vibrations in the direction of, in the plane of the paper. So when it is passed through the half shade plate, this is very important. What is the work of half shade plate, how it look like, all this I will explain later. And then half shade plate, in front of the half shade plate there is a polarimeter tube which contains a sugar solution. You already know this. And there is an analyzer. Again, one more Nicol prism is there. Here this Nicol prism acts as a analyzer. This Nicol prism acts as a polarizer, because it is unpolarized light, it is polarizing the unpolarized light. So here it is checking the polarization, so it is considered as analyzer. You already know what is polarizer and analyzer. Here it acts like a polarizer. Same Nicol prism, here it acts like a analyzer. So remember your experiment. So you will fill the ordinary distilled water. Then what happens? After that, what happens? You will set the rotation so that both the halves are equally bright, correct? And you will note down the reading. That reading angle, that reading is considered as R0. And then what happens? You will fill the polarimeter with a sugar solution. So the one of the side is brighter and the other side is dark. Then what happens? Again you will set the polarimeter so that both the halves are equally bright. Then you will take down the R1 reading. Can you remember this? Have you done the same procedure, right? Firstly, ordinary water, set the field of view so that both the halves are equally bright, and you will note down the R0 reading. And then you will replace the ordinary water with sugar solution. Then what happens? You will get one side is dark and other side is bright. Again you will set back that to the both the halves are equally bright, and then you will take back the reading R1. Why you are doing like that? What is the use of that? What is meant by half shade plate? That you have to understand very clearly. So if in the examination, if they ask you Lorentz half shade polarimeter, you can write the same procedure as given in the manual, and the diagram also same thing. But for that thing you have to add this, how the half shade plate works. So these points also you have to add. Okay. So write the same procedure as in the manual. Now I am explaining only the half shade plate working. See, what do you mean by half shade plate? See, in the half shade plate, see here I am showing just a cross section like this. Okay, like this it is placed. So if you see from this view, now it is looking like as a circular plate. So in this circular plate, half of the plate is made up of quartz and the other half is made with glass. Okay, since it is a quartz plate, so I can mention the optic axis. So this is the parallel lines will represent the optic axis. Okay. So I also observe that this quartz plate acts like a half wave plate. That means the thickness of this quartz plate is adjusted so that the phase difference between the O ray and E ray will be pi. You already know these details. That means now this quartz plate is acting like a half wave plate. That is why the name half shade plate. You can also call that as half shade plate. Why the name is. Now the thickness of glass plate is, you have to adjust the thickness of the glass plate such that it should absorb the same amount of light as that of the quartz plate. Okay, so this is about the construction of half shade plate. Now remember one point, half wave plate, when I pass the incident light ray like this through the half wave plate, after emerging from the half wave plate, you will get the emergent light like this. See, you have discussed this circularly polarized, linearly polarized, how the quarter wave plate produces both the type of elliptically polarized and circularly polarized, but the half wave plate produces plane polarized light only, but the plane of vibration will be rotated like this. Correct? So this is half wave plate in the case of half wave plate. So this is incident, this is emergent. You remember this. So now observe very carefully. This is your half shade plate. So when I pass the incident light through this, through the glass plate, nothing will happen. You will get the same vibrations like this, but through the quartz plate, instead of going like this, so it has rotated like this. Are you getting this? If it incident light, the emergent light will be like this. If this has the slope plus b by a, it will have the slope minus b by a. All this we have discussed in the cases. Remember that. Okay. Therefore, if this is the incident one, instead of going like this through the quartz plate, because now the quartz plate is a half wave plate, so the emergent light will be like this. So in general, through the half wave plate, if the vibrations, you can write the vibrations like this. So this is the incident one, this is the emergent, incident, emergent, incident, emergent, like this. See, now what happens? If I place the Nicol prism, so this is a Nicol prism actually. If I place the Nicol prism such that the axis of polarizer or the principal axis of polarizer came exactly on this, then what happens? You know that how to analyze the polarizer. So if the axis and polarizer and the analyzer axis are parallel, then what happens? Intensity is maximum. Correct? If the polarizer and analyzer are perpendicular, then what happens? Intensity is 0. According to Malus law, you know that I is equal to I naught cos square theta. Correct? So if theta is 90 degree, cos 90 is 0. Therefore, you will get 0 intensity. So now, if this is the incident light, so if I am incident, that is incident light towards the glass plate, this is the incident light towards the quartz plate. Okay. Now what happens? If I keep the Nicol prism polarizing axis like this, then what happens? Glass plate side is bright because here theta is 0. Okay. And here what happens? Theta is more, somehow more, theta is 0 here and theta here increases. See, as the theta increases, then what happens? The intensity, cos, as the theta increases, cos value decreases. So as the cos value decreases, intensity decreases. So glass plate side is bright, quarter wave plate side is dark. So if I keep the Nicol prism axis of polarization like this, then what happens? Quarter plate side is bright, glass plate side is dark. Are you getting my point clearly? So please carefully observe this explanation, very important. So if I am keeping the analyzer such that the polarizing axis in this direction, then what happens? Glass plate side is bright, quarter wave plate side is dark. If I keep the analyzer like this, then what happens? Quarter wave plate side is bright, glass plate side is dark. Okay. Next, if I keep the analyzer along the optic axis like this, then what happens? Both are equally bright. If I keep the analyzer whose polarizing axis is along the optic axis, then what happens? Equally bright. Why? Because from the optic axis this also has the same deviation and this also has the same deviation. That means this side also I is same, because as theta is same. This side also as theta angle theta is same, so both will eliminate with the equal brightness. Okay, so this you will set up. So this you will set up by removing the polarimeter tube. So this you will set up by removing the polarimeter tube or by filling the polarimeter tube with an ordinary water, because filling the ordinary water, that is nothing but tube is not there, or here it is a optically inactive material is there, because ordinary water is a optically inactive material but sugar solution is a optically active material. So once you fill, so now what happens? By filling the ordinary water you will set to the position equally brighter. That means you have set the analyzer axis, Nicol prism axis, such that whose axis should be coincide with the optic axis of this half shade plate. Correct? That is what you done while taking the R0 reading. Now what happens? If you introduce a polarimeter again by filling with the sugar solution, then what happens? Now by introducing a optically active material, what happens? This plane of vibration has rotated. Now the plane of vibration is not exactly like this, so now it will rotate either like this or it will rotate like this. That means now the theta is not same. If the theta is not them, then what happens? There will be unequal illumination will be there. So you will again set back to the equally illuminated position, so that what happens? Angle by which the analyzer is rotated back to get the equally illuminated position, that is nothing but the angle by which the plane of polarization is rotated. That means we have found the theta. So by introducing sugar solution and by getting the equally bright position, you have find out the theta. Are you getting my point? That is R1 difference R0 will give you the theta, and by knowing the theta you can easily find the specific rotation S by using this formula, S is equal to theta by LC. So please go this explanation. You have to same procedure, but you have to add this, how the half shade plate works. Then this completes the working of the Lorentz half shade polarimeter. Please go through the explanation. Any doubts, please get back to me, otherwise thumbs up. So this completes your first chapter of third unit. One more chapter is there in the third unit. Thank you.